What would you do if your dinner could kill you before you killed it? Imagine you are standing near a black river at night. No lights, no engines, no fence, just mud under your feet, and something huge breathing in the dark. You're hungry. Your family is hungry. You know there is meat in that water. Enough meat to feed everyone. A walking mountain of fat and muscle. A hippo. So the obvious answer seems simple. We do not eat hippo meat because hippos are too dangerous. That sounds correct. But it is not the real answer. It is only the first layer. Because humans have never avoided food just because it was dangerous. Ancient humans hunted mammoths. They chased giant bison. They faced cave bears. They followed wounded animals for days. They crossed frozen rivers. They climbed cliffs for bird eggs. They ate poisonous plants until they learned which ones did not kill them. Danger was never enough to stop us. Hunger is older than fear. So if hippos are full of meat, and humans have eaten dangerous animals forever, why do we almost never eat hippo meat today? The deeper answer is stranger. We do not avoid hippos because they are impossible to eat. We avoid them because they are almost impossible to own. And that one difference changed the entire human food map. Go back thousands of years, long before grocery stores, long before menus, long before farms covered the earth. A human meal was not a choice, it was a test. Every meal asked one question: can you survive long enough to get it? Ancient people ate whatever the land allowed. Fish, birds, roots, shellfish, deer, boar, bison, horse, and yes, hippo. This is the part most people never hear. Humans absolutely ate hippos. Ancient Egyptians knew hippos very well. The Nile was once crowded with them. Not a few. Not some rare monster hiding in the reeds. Huge numbers of hippos lived along the river. They stood in muddy banks. They moved through crop fields at night. They crushed boats. They threatened fishermen. They were part of a daily life. To the Egyptians, the hippo was not just an animal. It was food. It was danger. It was power. It was a symbol. They carved hippo hunts into temple walls. They showed kings attacking hippos from boats. They turned the animal into myth. They feared it. They respected it. And they ate it. So the false answer collapses. Hippo meat is not forbidden by nature. Hippo meat is not magically poisonous. Hippo meat was eaten by ancient people. The real question becomes different. If humans once ate hippos, why did hippos never become normal livestock? Why did cows become dinner? Why did pigs become dinner? Why did chickens become dinner? But hippos stayed in the river. The answer begins around 10,000 years ago. This was one of the biggest turning points in human history. Humans started farming. At first, farming sounds like a plant story. Wheat, barley, rice, corn, seeds in the ground, harvests under the sun. But farming also became an animal story. And animal farming was much harder. A plant cannot bite your head open. A plant cannot charge through a fence. A plant cannot refuse to breed because it hates captivity. Animals had to pass a brutal survival test. Not for themselves, for us. To become part of human civilization, an animal needed several traits. It had to eat cheap food, grass, scraps, grain, leaves, things humans did not always want. It had to grow fast enough. If it took too long to become useful, it wasted energy. It had to breed around humans. Many wild animals simply will not do this. It had to tolerate confinement. A farm is not a wilderness. It had to be calm enough that farmers could live near it. And most important of all, it needed a social structure humans could hijack. That sounds strange, but it is one of the keys to domestication. Cows follow leaders, sheep follow flocks. Goats understand social rank. Horses accept hierarchy. Dogs follow packs. Humans stepped into those systems. We became the strange new leader. We controlled food. We controlled movement. We controlled breeding. Slowly, generation after generation, the animals changed. The calm ones lived. The aggressive ones were killed. The ones that handled humans passed on their traits. The wild animal became a farm animal. This did not happen in one lifetime. It took thousands of years. It took patience. It took selection. It took accidents. It took human pressure pressing on animal behavior until evolution bent. Now place a hippo inside that test. It fails almost everywhere. A hippo is huge. A hippo needs a lot of space. A hippo needs water. A hippo eats enormous amounts. A hippo is territorial. A male hippo does not gently accept being moved around. A mother hippo does not politely share space near her calf. A stressed hippo does not calm down because a human speaks softly. A hippo does not look at a person and think, that is my leader. A hippo looks at a person and thinks, that thing is either nothing or a threat. And both answers are dangerous. This is why the ancient human story matters. Our ancestors could hunt a hippo, but hunting is not ownership. Killing one animal is very different from building a food system around thousands of animals. A spear can solve one dinner. Domestication must solve tomorrow, and the next day, and the next 1,000 years. Hippos could be eaten, but they could not be shaped into a dependable food machine. That is the deeper reveal. We do not eat hippos today because history rewarded animals that surrendered to human control. The hippo never surrendered. It stayed wild. Now here is where the story becomes even stranger. There was a moment when modern America nearly tried anyway. In the early 1900s, the United States had a meat problem. The population was growing, cities were swelling, beef prices were rising. People worried that ordinary families would not afford enough protein. At the same time, waterways in the American South had another problem: water hyacinth, a floating plant. Beautiful at first, disastrous later. It spread across rivers and bayous. It blocked boats. It damaged ecosystems. It choked waterways. So two problems sat side by side. Not enough meat, too many invasive plants. Then someone had an idea that sounds fake. Bring hippos to Louisiana. Let the hippos eat the water plants. Then let Americans eat the hippos. One problem becomes another solution. They even had a marketing name for it: lake cow bacon. That name sounds like a joke, but the plan was real. Politicians discussed it. Newspapers covered it. Experts debated it. A bill was introduced to support importing hippos for meat. Think about that. In another timeline, American children might have grown up eating hippo burgers. Supermarkets might have sold hippo steaks. Southern restaurants might have served lake cow bacon beside eggs. But the plan failed. It did not become normal. And that failure was lucky, because the people behind the idea understood hunger. They understood meat. They understood rivers. But they underestimated evolution. They thought a hippo was basically a cow with a water habit. It was not. A cow is an animal shaped by thousands of years of human selection. A hippo is an ancient tank with teeth. You cannot simply move it into a swamp and call it livestock. You cannot build a civilization on an animal that may destroy the people managing it. You cannot farm chaos. And we later saw what happens when hippos enter a place where they do not belong. In Colombia, Pablo Escobar kept hippos in a private zoo. After his death, some were left behind. They escaped into rivers. The climate suited them. They had food, they had water, they had no natural predators. So they bred and bred and bred. Now feral hippos live in Colombia. They are not becoming livestock. They are becoming an ecological problem. They change river chemistry. They push into habitats. They threaten people and native species. This is the American hippo dream without the fantasy. A warm river, no predators, plenty of food, and no easy control. The result is not cheap meat. The result is a management nightmare. That is the part ancient humans would have understood quickly. A wild animal can feed you once. A domestic animal can feed your descendants. That difference built villages, then cities, then empires. Cows gave meat, milk, leather, labor, manure, wealth. Pigs turned scraps into fat. Chickens turned insects and grain into eggs. Sheep gave wool. Goats survived harsh lands. Horses changed travel and war. These animals did not just fill plates. They reshaped human destiny. They helped create permanent settlements. They supported larger populations. They made stored wealth possible. They changed disease. They changed immunity. They changed conquest. They changed the map. The animals that could live beside humans became part of history. The animals that could not were pushed to the edges. Hunted sometimes, feared sometimes, protected sometimes, but rarely farmed. The hippo became one of those edge animals, too useful to ignore, too dangerous to manage, too edible to be sacred, too untamable to become ordinary. And that is why your dinner looks normal to you. Chicken, beef, pork, these seem like natural choices. But they are not natural. They are ancient survivors of a selection process. Not just animal selection, human selection. Your ancestors did not test every animal by taste alone. They tested them by temperament, by breeding, by cost, by control, by whether a child could stand nearby and survive. A hippo may have good meat, but good meat is not enough. A zebra has meat, but zebras are hard to tame. A deer has meat, but deer panic in fences. A rhino has meat, but nobody builds a village around rhinos. A hippo has meat, but a hippo does not accept the human world. It carries the river with it. It carries territory. It carries rage. It carries instincts older than our farms. So when people ask why we do not eat hippo meat, they usually expect a simple answer. Because it is illegal, because it is dangerous, because it tastes bad, because people find it weird. Some of those can be partly true today. Laws protect wildlife. Hippos are vulnerable in many regions. Hunting them is restricted. Modern meat systems are built around other animals. Most people would never see hippo meat in a market, but those are modern endings. They are not the root cause. The root cause is ancient. The hippo failed the domestication test, not because it lacked meat, but because it lacked surrender. It could be killed, it could be eaten, it could be feared, it could be worshipped, but it could not be turned into a quiet worker in the human machine. And that changes how you look at food. Your last meal was not just your choice. It was the result of 10,000 years of survival decisions. A hungry farmer chose the calmer calf. A family kept the pig that grew fast. A village protected the hens that laid more eggs. A herder bred the goats that stayed close, again and again and again, until wild creatures became the familiar animals we barely think about. Meanwhile, the hippo stayed outside the fence, still massive, still powerful, still watching from the water. It is almost funny. Humans conquered mountains, crossed oceans, split atoms, walked on the moon, but one animal in a muddy river still refuses the oldest human trick: control. That is why we never really eat hippos. Not because humans never wanted to, not because ancient people never tried, not because the meat was useless, but because the hippo was never the kind of animal that could become ours. It was almost food history, almost American livestock, almost lake cow bacon, almost normal, but almost is where the hippo lives, between hunger and fear, between river and farm, between ancient myth and modern disaster. The cow walked into the human camp and changed the world. The pig adapted, the chicken multiplied, the sheep followed, the hippo stayed in the water. And maybe that is the final answer. Some animals became dinner. Some animals became partners. Some animals became gods. The hippo became a warning. Just because humans can eat something does not mean humans can own it. And just because something could feed us once does not mean it can feed civilization forever. So the next time you look at a burger, or a chicken sandwich, or a strip of bacon, remember this: you are not just eating meat. You are eating the winners of an ancient evolutionary audition. And somewhere in a river, the animal that refused the audition is still there, watching, breathing, untamed,